Will the U.S. be dragged into war? The U.S. looks like we're going to war now, my friends. It's very serious. And this comes up with lots of risk. And what we got to know is that even Trump's base, most of Trump's base does not support this war or any war because America First was supposed to be no war. And yet we're on the cusp, potentially any day now, any minute now, sometime between the next 2 seconds and the next 2 weeks of being at war in Iran. What does this mean? And there's two things. Let's just be clear. There's two things, two criteria that Donald Trump is supposedly looking at. Two criteria to consider if we're to go into this war. Hang on, cut this right now. Put this thing on here. Two criteria. One, can the GBU 57 massive ordnance penetrator actually take out the Fordo fuel enrichment facility in Iran? Can it do it? It's buried deep in a mountain. It is buried 260 to 300 feet deep. This bomb is rated only to be able to penetrate 200 feet. Now, reportedly, it's been said that Donald Trump has been assured that this will work, although it would take multiple hits on the same hole to make it work. Because first hit, stuff may cave back in somewhat. Which, that's to make a big crater, no doubt. But it's actually built under basically a lot of rubble's piled in. They built a building underground and then piled in stuff on top of it, probably poured concrete and piled stuff in on top of it from the mountain. So this facility was a building built and then buried. Now, that's one criteria. The other criteria supposedly is related to the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei perhaps making a peace deal. Would he make a peace deal? Of course, he said he wouldn't do it under duress. So would the U.S. get a ceasefire? And the big question is he even alive now? Supposedly Trump said he was safe because Trump wanted to negotiate with him. However, Israel got mad at him when that big hospital in Israel was just hit recently. And they decided that they were going to take him out at that point, Trump or no Trump. And where he's believed to be staying, those bunkers have had massive explosions there. So we don't even know if he's still alive. Who's in charge over there? Well, he did apparently, according to a lot of sources, turn over a lot of his power since he was hiding in a bunker and couldn't communicate directly and forbade cell phone communications because they thought Mossad was listening to everything on the cell phones. He actually turned over power to the head of the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. So, but the whole thing about the IRGC is those guys are there because they are part of this religious movement that was founded by the Ayatollah Khomeini and the prior Ayatollah and that was in charge. And there's a lot of Ayatollahs, so the one in charge, they like to refer to the one that's in charge as the supreme leader at any event. So the supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, apparently gave his power to that guy. Now, if something's happened to him, it's possible the whole thing might start unraveling, but again, the military guys in charge, they're going to know they ain't going to get no peace anywhere else unless they can run away to Russia, which some of them are looking into doing. So they're still prosecuting the war. In fact, there were some sources like past couple of days or two said, well, the Iranians went from 100 missiles a day to firing just 5 or 10. But then they upped the game again. They've gone up to 25 to 30, and they're firing more massive warheads. So they were using the smaller stuff first, probably to clear out the Iron Dome to exhaust it of its missiles, because now they're getting a lot of penetrations. So Iran's not out of the game yet, as far as we can tell. How long they will last, what they can do, what damage they can evoke upon us is yet to be determined. There are very severe concerns about sleeper cells getting activated, especially if the United States attacks. And one reason, supposedly Trump has waited, maybe didn't want to get involved in this, was he didn't want to activate the sleeper cells. I hope the FBI is really on this case here in our homeland, because the sleeper cells can do a lot of damage. Many of you may recall that the Ayatollah Khomeini, I have to stop thinking, say it that way, because it's spelled with a K, and Khomeini had the K pronounced, but Khomeini, he's got a K in the rest. You don't pronounce it. I don't know why. I don't speak Farsi or whatever they speak over there in Persian, Farsi, whatever it is. So the case is, he made this big announcement that there was going to be a great surprise like hadn't been seen in centuries. It was a threat to the United States and to Israel, that he had something up his sleeve. What could it have been? What we do know is supposedly everybody's looking for this 90% enrichment for nuclear weapons. Well, it turns out that the IAEA back in 2023 actually found particles that were enriched to 83.7%. Do you realize that the little boy atom bomb that the United States dropped on Nagasaki in 1945 was only enriched to 80%? That's a fact. Now, it was a big, heavy bomb. A big, heavy bomb. You wouldn't put it, it's so heavy, you wouldn't put it on a missile. Now, if they wanted to put the stuff on a missile, that would require miniaturization. And if they haven't got that done, that could take some time to miniaturize the material. And you'd want it more enriched for that miniaturization to work properly. Do they have that already? What were the flights that went from Iran to China? 4 flights, military flights, transport flights. Was it air defense systems? Some other military hardware? Was it maybe an atom bomb? I don't know. I don't think China would be that loose with the nukes, but China is really relying on Iran. Now, the problem is if they had allowed one of their own to be using that method, there are forensics that can kind of tell where the stuff came from. And if China got implicated in that, oh yeah, full-blown World War III. Unless they had material that came from Iran, they enriched it and sent it back. Maybe built the device with material from Iran. That's possible. Then China would be off the hook for forensics if Iran were to use such a device. Now, intel from back when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union fell apart, I'd been told from a classified source, and I didn't hear anything else about this for years until recently. I'd been told that Iran got 2 fully erect ICBMs from Kazakhstan with nuclear weapons. And later, I heard from another very credible source there was actually 4. And I've heard a few other sources confirm the number 4. So they may actually, I say may, have devices already. Maybe they're just waiting to see if the United States gets involved and figure out how they would want to use those. But I'm here to tell you, the nuclear device isn't your biggest concern. It might take out a city. You take down our power grid, you take out the country. Far more people will pass away. Far more people, 9 out of 10 within less than a year. So those sleeper cells do pose a big potential risk. Now, the question is, how are the sleeper cells controlled? Well, it turns out the IRGC was almost decapitated in terms of command structure, but they actually reconstituted their command structure in 18 hours. You don't hear that from a lot of sources. 18 hours, they were back in operation. Different commanders. Who controls the sleeper cells? They may have been Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah's got slapped down real hard. But Hezbollah, when everybody's saying, well, Hezbollah's not going to help because Hezbollah has been almost eliminated, and we took out the Israelis, took out Nasser Ali, their head man. But now the head man, just today, from Hezbollah, offered to help Iran do anything they want. Say, hey, we'll help you. How? I don't know. They don't have the wherewithal to attack Israel like they used to. They got the snot pounded out of them. Is it sleeper cells? What in the world could be cooking, my friends? So there is existential threat here. There's also a threat within the Republican Party because, like I said, Trump's base does not support going to war. That's what the polls suggest. And, a lot of people are challenging this for the, constitutionality of it, the War Powers Act. I'm going to show you all this stuff. I'm going to show you some more stuff in articles in a little bit. I'm going to back all this stuff up with some other things. I'm going to show you a little bit about the GBU 57 a massive ordnance penetrator. But if it don't do the job, and there's those that suggesting it won't and suggesting that something else may be in play, and there's those that have suggested the U.S. will use a nuclear bunker buster, and the United States actually developed one. It's called the B-6111. Now, y'all might have heard a lot recently about the B-6113, which is a brand new nuclear gravity bomb the U.S. just developed and did it a year ahead of schedule for some strange reason. That's really odd. Norm Augustine was a famous aerospace CEO back in the days when we had the peace dividend, and a lot of the aerospace companies were contracted into just a handful before they went out of business. They merged like crazy, which also drove our costs way up, defense cost, far less competition. There's a new player in town though called Anduril. I think they're onto a lot of stuff, and that's somebody to keep an eye on, Anduril. But the whole thing is this whole business, guys, is no one helps Palestine. That's true. Actually, Trump did send some supplies in there, and there were a bunch of them actually praising them over there. That was kind of weird. But anyway, so I'm not trying to take sides here. I'm looking at the threat of it. A lot of people, including Tucker Carlson, was really probably the biggest voice saying, "Don't do it, Trump. Don't do it. Don't go to war. Don't do it." And Trump actually disparaged him on some when some media journalist asked him a question about that. He kind of cut Carlson out. So, well, let him go on his TV show and talk. But Carlson went to Trump. Or Trump went to Carlson. I don't know how it happened. But anyway, they made a contact. And supposedly Trump showed him something. And Carlson actually put out an apology. He backed off. What did he see? I don't know. I'm not for war, guys. Let me just be blunt. I'm not for war. And the thing that strikes me in this whole mess is it really reminds me of that so-called General Albert Pike letter. If y'all might recall, there was a bishop from, I believe, Chile named Allende, who wrote in the 1920s about this letter he saw in a museum in London, which outlined the plan for 3 world wars. Now, he saw the letter and supposedly wrote down what it said or regurgitated from memory. Now, a lot of the language in what he wrote was not language used in 1871 when that letter was supposedly sent from General Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini, who was at the time the head 33 level Scots Rite, Masonic order guy, which Albert Pike became. He took his role. So the veracity of the letter and 100% is questionable. However, the kind of things, the way the 3 world wars were described, World War I and World War II, you got to remember, World War I had already occurred. World War II hadn't occurred when that letter was written. And the way the world's shaping up today, wow, very similar, very similar. And, a lot of people say, well, we got to defend Israel because, it's God's country. This is God's chosen people. I remember the Pharisees wrote all that stuff in the Bible. So, maybe. But the thing is, the Israel of today is a secular state. It was created, the beginnings of it began with the Balfour Agreement back in the early 1900s, right around the end of World War I. And who put that forward? Oh, our good globalist friends, the Rothschilds. So it's almost as if the devil himself made it. A lot of the Orthodox Jews say, hey, God didn't call us together here. No, they go there, but they said it wasn't God that called us together. I don't know. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying it's interesting. And we seem to be heading toward this big mother of all wars, which, according to the Pike letter, or at least what Bishop Allendine wrote about it, that's why Israel was created, was to instigate and foment this big brouhaha at WW3. He didn't use, I don't think he didn't use the words WW3, I don't think, but third, pretty close. The language is out there on the internet. You can search it yourself. And I'm not saying it's true that what it says, but what it says is really close to what's happening today. something to pay attention to. If you ever notice, the street around the Knesset is named after the people, the family that built most of the government buildings in Israel, the Rothschilds. It's Rothschild Boulevard. Interesting, right? Rothschild Boulevard. Now, y'all, if you think the Rothschilds are doing the work of God, put a 1 in the chat room. If you think that's questionable, put a 2 in. Let's see what y'all think about it. So what you think about it. Now, war is horrible. It's bad on everybody, except some of the globalist leaders, call them leaders in quotation marks, that really want to do us in. Now, all that said, whatever the case is, we're heading for a bad time. If those sleeper cells get activated, we're in bad trouble. Now, most of them may have been Hezbollah. There might have been some direct Iranian IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps sleeper cells. We don't know. We do not know what's here because the border was thrown wide open. But the original statement that I heard about this was made in 2014, before President Potato Head, Sniffy Joe, became president, before the borders were thrown so wide open, when the National Electric Reliability Corporation put out a report that year in 2014 that said that our whole grid can be taken down by taking down just nine key substations. And one of his minions came running to him with a report. The head of the then head of the IRGC said, 9? I've already got 20 targeted with sleeper cells. I mean, they got targeted today. Will they actually act on it? Or will they think, it's not worth it because maybe Iran's already fallen and maybe they won't act? Or maybe they'll act out of religious conviction. I mean, after all, they got to have a big war for the 12th Imam to come crawling out of his hole. Oh, wait a minute, I just got a report. What's this say? Oh, wow, guys, breaking news. 12th Imam has been sighted by the well. Oh, no, wait, he's shaking his head. Oh, he just dove back into the well. Oh, well, all's hell that ends well, or all's hell that falls in the well. That's my twist on it. But anyway, I ain't got to crack a joke, even in about Doomsday, right, my friends? So, a lot of questions here, a lot of questions. But whatever you support or don't support may be immaterial. We're all at risk. How much risk? We don't know yet. If we use the B6111, then we normalize nuclear war, at least on the tactical level. That might say Putin might look back and say, oh, you used that there? Okay, I can use it in Ukraine. I can use tactical nukes in Ukraine. See where this could go? Xi Jinping, oh yeah, hey Taiwan. You probably wouldn't want to use Timmy in Taiwan because he wants to take over the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company and rule the world with their chips. So hard to say, my friends. I mean, I bring you this news so you'll get your butts ready and do some prepping. Consider some bug out. I live in my bug out location. I'm busy building a garden right now. I'm just planting my true leaf market seeds. I'll show you a little bit about that later. You can check the links I'll post below later. You know, you better have your own means of growing your own food, because if the grid goes down, there'll be no supply chain. None. Forget it. You won't go to the store and buy diddle squat. There won't be no water, sewage won't work, cell phones won't work. Your bank account will be non-existent. So I've gone through many times and gave great explanations for what that means. And a lot of people don't, they get all excited about nukes and power grid. They don't think nothing about sleeper cells. Let's just hope those sleeper cells don't activate. Let's hope they don't get the order or don't carry through with it if they get it. You better do some serious praying. If you've ever prayed before in your life or never prayed before, now's the time to do some serious praying, meditation, whatever works for you. The time has come. Because we're on the cusp of something here, something big. All right. So that's kind of the bottom line. So Trump is waiting to see if, one, he can take out Fordo, and can he do it with a GBU? Supposedly that was his waiting point. He's probably got a plan that, we'll try the GBU, and if it fails, we'll go to the B6111. Maybe that's the plan. I don't know. Originally, when they had the meeting in the Situation Room, some people that were listening said that the nukes weren't on the table. But somebody suggested since then, oh, yeah, they are now. I don't know. We're talking potential nuke war, guys. But whatever the case is, we're attacking nuke facilities. And we don't know that Iran don't have some. Now, if they had to build a little boy scale bomb, they're not going to deliver it on a missile. Now, it just so happens the most populated areas in Israel are on the coast. Haifa, Tel Aviv, and that little central Israel strip there. You know, you got at least 4 million people at risk right in there. Israel would cease to exist as a country, 2 or 3 nukes, and they're done. New York City has got a harbor. Los Angeles got a harbor. We have a lot of coastal cities. I mean, would Israel have one, none? I don't know. Like I said, 4 had been reported. We do know that that Iran has launched a satellite. So we don't know that maybe a satellite would have one of those 4 I mentioned earlier from Kazakhstan mounted up there, ready to EMP attack. Don't know. Don't know. Now, Iran has got this clobbered real hard. They have been thoroughly clobbered, but they're still fighting. As long as they're still fighting, there's still risk. And with them being up against the wall, it's like when you corner a wild animal, when you corner it, that's when it's most dangerous. So I don't know if their supreme leaders have been taken out. I don't know where it goes from here. What I would hope for is a transition where the people overthrow the government and create a republic. A republic. Yeah, the Shah's son, the former Shah's son is apparently the prince, royal prince or whatever, waiting in line to take over and form a transition. Government has claimed that he would set up and there would be an election and that they would have a then returned to, and actually Iran had a republic. They had an elected president. The CIA overthrew them. Why? Because they were kind of favoring Russia. And what happened? They overthrew the president of Iran and installed the Shah. And the Shah was a brutal man, but not as brutal as the Ayatollahs that followed him, the supreme leaders. Yeah, I'll check the chat room once I go through all the articles, guys. Just bear with me because I got to get the news out first. Whoa, Samuel Turner's in the house. Now that I will say hi to. Samuel Turner, $20. I fear Iran sleeper cells and cyber. Yeah, cyber strikes. That's one thing you got to be most concerned about. Samuel Turner is a consummate prepper. He is really doing the job. So salute Sam Turner. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. You're one of my best supporters to this channel. And I do appreciate that. And what Sam Turner says, take it to the bank. He is quite the prepper. And he's also got the military background and experience. So he knows what can be coming up here. So I appreciate that. So, we got Michelle in the house. We'll go back in and check my PayPal here toward the end too, because she's really good to chip in some there. So I always like to give credit where credit's due for anybody that's supporting the channel that way. But Sam Turner, thank you, sir. All right. So, guys, this may be the most serious time you've seen in your life, and it could happen. Trump has said, well, I'm going to make my decision, he said, within 2 weeks. That doesn't mean he's going to wait the 2-week mark. I mean, you lose the element of surprise if you wait all the way to the end. It could be 2 seconds to 2 weeks. For all we know, the bombs are falling right now. We don't know yet. I mean, maybe check the news back, you might see something. So, guys, get your preps in order. Get your house in order. Do it now. And there's no more time to waste. The time to waste is over. Like I said, pray, hope, and pray. Maybe we won't see this happen here, but it is a potential. Because we do know they had sleeper cells here or have sleeper cells here. Will they activate? What will they do? They probably have. They had 20 substations targeted, 11 years ago. What's targeted today? And it's probably more than just substations. It may not be safe to ride around in the streets in some places. I don't know, my friends. I don't know. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. There's a lot of good Iranians over here in the United States who came here to get away from that mess over there. My study buddy in college he was a kid in high school in Tehran when I was packed up ready to go there back in 1980, or when it was a failed rescue mission. I was packed up ready to go. I was at Fort Braxton Bragg, North Carolina at that time, packed and ready to go. That's a whole nother story. But, you know, and I hear him being my main study buddy in college. And I was, man, I was in the Army. I already went to your town. It came close. I mean, I'm sure they had some options that they were looking at, and they chose the smaller option, and the command and control was terrible. The military didn't have the spare parts it needed. Equipment was falling apart. It was horrible. It was a failed mission. But that was Jimmy Carter's military. His army was a ragbag outfit. I'm gonna tell you. I can tell you whole stories about, because I joined that outfit, and I can tell you it was a ragbag outfit at that time. But when Reagan came in office, boom, everything changed almost overnight. It really changed. I really liked my president, Ronnie Reagan. I like Ronnie Reagan. Anyway, so all that said, if you're not getting your house in order, think about it real seriously right now. And, you know, we got friends like Mandy here in Mando down in right down under in Australia. We probably have a few other Australians in the house. We got Canadians in here. Look, guys, this would have global ramifications. If nothing else, if the Strait of Hormuz was closed, and that was all that happened, and Iran could do it with just laying mines. You can see the price of gas skyrocket. China could actually have an economic implosion if suddenly all that oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz was cut off from them, because they're like a highly strained camel. One more straw on that camel's back might break it, especially with the tariffs that's laid upon them. But they were already economically in trouble. Now, that don't mean they still couldn't do. They're still doing a lot of research. They're building an equivalent to our Pentagon that's 10 times bigger. They're still doing massive mega projects. And as I mentioned in some previous videos, robotics may be their first key way to get out of that. So and they could actually pay for and take actions to get out of the dire straits that are in if they do that. So you got to watch out for China. China cannot be dismissed. And right now we can't dismiss a threat from Iran, even though they seem to be getting the snot clobbered out of them. It don't mean the threat's gone. It means you got a wild animal. You know, what was the symbol of Persia was a lion. And well, you got this lion cornered in the corner, and you're poking sticks at it. Don't think that it might not bite. Don't think that it might not bite, my friends. So, you got your goats and standby. Yeah, it may be that the Ayatollah Khomeini, he may have gone on to the 72 goats in the sky. I don't know. Maybe a whole bunch of them have gone to there. I don't know, my friends. So, yeah, I mean, like I'll always find humor in something, no matter how dire things are. You know, if you can't see some humor in even the worst of things, even though it's not funny, not by a long shot, then you're gonna lose your mind. You can't just be panicked or chewing your fingers off. But it doesn't mean you can't pay attention. You got to have your eyes wide open, head on a swivel, and get your rear end prepared. Like I said, this is my proof I take it serious. Are you taking it serious? That right there is proof I'm taking it serious. I'm trying to learn how to garden out here. I got a lot of challenges in that. Way different in Alabama, especially my little garden plot. It's got some challenges, and I'm trying to overcome. So it's an experimental thing for me right now. I've been videoing some stuff on that I want to put out to you guys. Also, I'm putting together my solar array, and so you'll be getting some stuff on that if we still have internet and all these things, you know, and when I'm ready to put the stuff out. I just got some final wiring to do, and I'll have power that's not connected up to everything else. I'm off grid here. I am reliant right now on gasoline to run generators. All this light you see is coming from gasoline run generators, and gasoline may not be available. It will not be available if the grid goes down. You just got to keep that in mind. There won't be no gasoline. All these things you take for granted. I've had so many preppers tell me, well, I live off grid. I ain't got to worry about it. Really? Well, just how independent and how resilient are you really? You better be thinking about things like that. What is it that you require? Are there some meds that you require, or something else that you require? You got to go to town to buy anything. You got to go to town to buy. Forget about it. You better figure out a way to get by without it. So that's the bottom line. Seriously think about that. All right, I'm going to share some article stuff here. Syria. Well, one thing that now Syria is kind of iffy. They are an Arabic country. They do favor Palestine, but they're more friendly to Israel than al-Assad. I mean, I've said for a long time back, this whole war in Syria was about nothing else other than clearing the left flank for Israel not to have to worry about it when they attack Iran. Israel's been wanting to do this, or at least Netanyahu. Not everybody in Israel wants to do that. Netanyahu. So I'm not trying to spurge on everybody in Israel. No, Netanyahu is his own animal. There's a lot of people in Israel who do not like him. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for war, he would probably be in prison now. There's a lot of charges against him, or potential charges, a lot of allegations. So he requires war just to stay in power. And maybe that's part of what's going on there. I don't know. But then again, Iran did threaten to wipe Israel off the map. Absolutely. And Iran's always said Israel was the little Satan and America was the big Satan. So, yeah, it might have just been rhetoric, blah, 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 or maybe they had something to it. Anyway, and a lot of people thought that, due to the 12th Imam theory that a lot of the adherents, the Shia people follow, that they had to have a major war, almost a nuclear war, for this guy to crawl out of his well and fulfill all their prophecies. The prophecies associated with that are almost like it's interesting. They're almost like a negative image of the prophecies in the Christian Bible. Really strange stuff. I mean, if you lay them up against each other and try to compare them, it's interesting, to say the least. Now, what it means, I don't know. But, hey, you know what? If you're in Iran, I say, don't, whatever you, I say, don't hold your breath waiting on the 12th Imam to come crawling out of that well. Unless you're in the IRGC, then absolutely hold your breath and wait on that 12th Imam to crawl out of the well. All right, like I said, you gotta have a little humor, right? Anyway, hope y'all appreciate that. But their international doomsday, yeah. Well, we've got let me go in here to these articles here. I'm just going to walk you through a bunch of this stuff because I got so much material to cover here. I've been wanting to talk about, we got a huge super chat. Sam Turner. Greg, I hope I survive, because if I die, you'll be the ugliest man in North America by default. Well, I hope you survive too. I'm not ready for that, to carry such a responsibility on my mantle just yet. There you go. Salute Sam Turner. Thank you, sir, very much. You are absolutely awesome. Guys, pay attention to him. He likes to jab me, but it's fun. Like I said, you gotta stop and find something to laugh at every now and then. If you don't, you're really going to lose your mind. If you lose your mind, if you lose your head, you might actually lose your head. I keep telling you guys that. So it's important to keep your composure. It's important, very important. And also tell your loved ones you love them every chance you get, family, friends. You don't know how many times you'll be able to, especially if you're living apart across the country, like my family's scattered across the country now. So just be sure that you do that. Be double sure and pray. Get right. Get yourself right with your maker. You might meet him. You will eventually anyway, but you might meet him a little sooner than what you wanted to, unless you're prepared. But being prepared is no guarantee. It's just gives you better odds. It's insurance. Gives you better odds. So a lot better, I hope. I got the hopes of surviving, and I hope Sam Turner will survive. I know Sam Turner's invested real heavy in prepping. So, Sam, I'm counting on you to survive. All right. I'm counting on you, Sam. I need a little time before I can rise to that mantle of being the ugliest man in North America, although I'm pretty close, I guess. Anyway, let's go look at some articles here. I'm going to do a share here in a second. I gotta set things up for that first. Alrighty, share screen. Ding, 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 ding. All right, here we are. Hope my stuff don't freeze up on me like it has a couple times in the past. They ain't no trick now. That breach it if it does. Trump reportedly green lights plan for U.S. attack on Iran without congressional approval. And now that's got some of them here all consternated. Well, there is this thing called the War Powers Act. And actually, there's been the one we call the War Powers Act today really isn't the War Powers Act, because the first War Powers Act come right 1917 or something. It goes way back. But this War Powers Resolution in 1973 is what we usually refer to when we're talking about the War Powers Act. And basically it says that, if the president's going to get us involved in a war, he has to notify Congress. And, the Constitution requires Congress to make a declaration of war, but the president is commander in chief. So if you go to the Constitution, let's see, where's it at? Talk about that in here. See, we got Article 2, Section 2 provides the president should be commander in chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and the militia of several states. Hey, Governor Newsom, did you hear that? Did you read the Constitution, Governor Newsom? Yeah, he is actually the commander of the militias also. That's in the Constitution. Newsom doesn't seem to understand that. But it does take the Congress to declare war. So what the War Powers Act, this latest one, comes up with is that the president has to notify Congress within 48 hours. Here it is. The War Powers Resolution requires the president notify Congress within 48 hours of committing forces to military action. And it forbids armed forces remaining more than 60 days with a further 30-day withdrawal period. So basically, you could be in the theater for 90 days. Or maybe just 2 days. So maybe, I don't think we're going to put boots on the ground over there. At least I hope not. That would be the one thing. So what people in America really don't want to see is us getting embroiled in another multi-year, multi-decade war, like it's happened too many times in the past. Maybe the plan is drop some bombs and get out and let Israel clean it up. I don't know, or let the people in Iran clean it up. Or just do so much damage that whoever takes over really can't do anything with it for a long time. But the kind of damage we've been inflicting, the kind of damage that Israel might inflict, and the GBU-57 bunker bomb, the massive ordnance penetrator, might inflict, could still let Iran put these facilities back in order in a matter of months or just a few years. So, and then they would be determined if the Ayatollah regime survives, probably to develop these nukes as fast as they could. And watch out, then they'll be mad. They might be more tempted to use them. I don't know, my friends. I don't know, but anyway, oh yeah, just as a side note, President Trump can end the nuclear threat from Iran with one phone call, it says. Now, one of the things here is that what's talking about is that Iran actually was threatening to take out our president. And according to this article, there was this guy arrested who was actually part of a conspiracy to do so, is hiding in Iran today. And so maybe he was, and this isn't, the assassination attempts that we typically think about, even though Benjamin Netanyahu claimed that the ones that we know about were sponsored by Iran. Now, I don't know, that's probably a stretch. But if one of the exceptions in here is if the United States is attacked to this War Powers Act. That's one of the exceptions if the United States is attacked. So there are some leeway in here. We've not been directly attacked by Iran, other than, well, we did have some troops that were fired on by their proxies, especially after General Soleimani was taken out. So that could be interpreted that way, but Iran hadn't attacked us directly. So it's a big question, Anyway, So that's one thing. Oh, yeah, and a related item here. Appeals court lets Trump keep control of National Guard troops deployed to Los Angeles. Yeah, probably another appeals court will rule against it. Guys, go back and read your Constitution. Did the appeals courts ever read the Constitution? I don't know. You got to really wonder, because it's all political, and sometimes politics don't care really what's in the Constitution. All right, so there's this guy who's, I guess he's a journalist, Lowell, with Guardian, who's claiming that the U.S. will have to drop a nuke. We'll go into that in a little bit. Hugo Lowell. He's a White House correspondent for the Guardian, so he is connected with it, and he's also connected to Steve Bannon, a lot of these sources. So he's claiming the U.S. will drop a nuclear bunker buster, and that would again be the B-6111. They don't tell you that in here. You get that from me. I hadn't heard anybody else mention. I don't know, maybe there's some other YouTube channel mentioned it, but I hadn't heard anybody else talk about the B-6111. That's why you're listening to me. Anyway, I'm going to go through this stuff here in a minute. Mike Huckabee indicates the U.S. is working to offer evacuation options. They're trying to get people out of Israel. If we didn't think that Iran wasn't a threat, we wouldn't be evacuating so many things. We've also evacuated an airfield. Let's see, maybe I got that up here. Oh, yeah, here we go. So are we going to actually be able to negotiate with the Ayatollah Khomeini? He may not be in existence. Yeah, he said he would give a firm response to Israel. Yeah, we're going to attack, basically. So what does he mean by that? Something beyond what they're doing? I mean, he's made threats like they would do something bigger. And it could just be posturing. It could be his way of trying to get people not to do anything border. He might be telling the truth. I don't know. Anyway, highly vulnerable Iranian leader may try to activate sleeper cells in the West as Israeli onslaught mounts. Guys, this ain't just coming from me. I seem to be the one that talks about it the most. Can't get this article to scroll. Oh, well, my whole thing getting froze up. Sometimes that happens. It's probably what's going on. Yeah, it's froze. I'm going to stop share for a minute and go back and share again. So I think that worked last time. Or at least after I stopped sharing and started back, I was able to get through on that occasion. Could have been coincidental. Let's see. Share again. Bing, bing, bing. Yeah, let's see. Well, I can't share. Yeah, how about that? I've discovered a magic sauce to my hangups. So this is a, see, he's made big inflammatory statements. Short of a nuke, what's he got for that? Well, sleeper cells. And sleeper cells, as I mentioned, can be worse than nukes. A lot of people don't get that. That's what I'm trying to alert you guys to. Anyway, and maybe nukes aren't off the table because the Iranians put out this funny little cryptic video of somebody petting a resemblance to a nuclear bomb. And down here it says, maybe. What is that all about? Petting a little nuclear bomb like it's a little pet kitty. It reminds me of the evil villains on James Bond, like Blofeld. Blofeld was his name of this guy. How to pet your cat like a James Bond villain. Yeah, get this guy petting his kitty. Well, or maybe even more sinister. Could be like on Inspector Gadget. Scar. Remember Inspector Gadget? All right, we got to throw a little fun in the middle of this somewhere. Anyway, defiant Iran boast it has all its nuclear material in a safe place after Trump dramatically backed down on war. Well, he's only called for a pause, not really a backing down, supposedly to negotiate, see if Iran will negotiate with him. And he says his patience is running thin. Well, this is interesting. I don't know if there's anything to this or not because, they lost most of their leadership in the initial attack right off the bat. So who was moving the nuclear materials? Was some of it already moved? Did they keep some of it elsewhere just to play it safe? Good chance that's the case. And maybe they ferried out the last bits in the last minute when the attack started. But, you know, because the first attacks were on leadership and communications and SAM sites, that's your surface-to-air missiles. So they might have had a little time to move stuff. Not a lot, but a little bit. But maybe some of it was already pre-positioned. That might give them the wherewithal to do it. And you can see here, we got a Congress critter here. Representative Mike Lawler, Republican from New York. He's saying, almost undoubtedly, Iran has a nuclear weapon. I suppose that's a bombshell claim. Well, I've been saying that's a possibility for a long time. It might not have been indigenously developed. So I don't know, my friends. But then here's about those mysterious transport planes sent to Iran. What did they have on board? I don't know. Could have been more surface-to-air missiles, or could have been nuclear materials finished. I don't know. Made from processed uranium from Iran, so that the forensics won't point back to China. We got no idea what was on these planes. Maybe they just shipped over a bunch of pillows. Maybe it was fuzzy kitties for all the Dr. Evils to pet. I don't know. So you tell me. We don't know what that was all about. We don't know. But we do know that the loss of Iran would be an existential problem for China, at least the Chinese Communist Party, which the people there would do well to get rid of them. So, guys, this is why you really need to think about, with all this stuff going on in the world, growing your own food. I'll put links at Tree Leaf Market. You see my box of seeds back here. So I'll put them in the chat room after we're done. The video here. Also, you could go to Eden Brothers. I'll put the link for that. Both sell heirloom seeds, air pollinated kind of seeds you can plant, get the same thing back. So check it out, guys. Anyway, and of course, Trump's Doomsday plane is ready to go. They actually renamed it. That's what's got a lot of people's suspicions, as they changed the nomenclature to 01. And it's over there, sitting over there in, I don't know if this article speaks to that, but it's over there next to Washington, D.C. and Andrews Air Force Base, I believe. Anyway, now, there's another possibility. I think it's remote. This is something that our dear friend Nate over in Canadian Prepper Channel and now Prepper News has come up with, that he didn't cite the Battle of Austerlitz on this, but he's basically saying that maybe he thought Putin was really smug in his last video, almost giddy with happiness for some strange reason. And so he put his mind spinning, and he and another guy actually came up with this, and Nate really liked it. The idea that maybe Russia's got an off switch on a lot of these surface-to-air missiles, that they're waiting till the United States gets involved, and then they turn them all back on, and suddenly while our Air Force and while the U.S. and the Israeli Air Force are all over the skies in Iran, suddenly they get taken out all at once. I think that's, I wouldn't dismiss it, but I think it's possible. The Battle of Austerlitz is where Napoleon fooled all his adversarial armies, the French and the British and the Austrian Empire, and he made them think that he was about to be defeated, he was weak, and lured them to attack. And then he wiped them out, basically. Well, he won the war. It was his biggest victory of all. He really had a huge victory there by feigning weakness. Could Iran be feigning weakness? Could we be walking into a battle of Austerlitz? It's not impossible, but it's interesting how fast Iran seems to fall apart. Well, Mossad did a brilliant job over there by their penetration of the society, being everywhere they were. Kind of like Chinese are everywhere here in the United States, only not as bad as the Chinese are here everywhere in the United States. Mossad is all over Iran, and there's a lot of people that don't support the Ayatollahs, as I mentioned, but I would submit we got more Chinese influence in this country than Mossad has influence in Iran. So I'm thinking about doing a video just on that topic alone. Well, here it is. The massive ordnance penetrator, the GBU 57. This thing's 20 foot long. It shows a person down here for scale. And it's to be carried on the B-2 bomber. The B-2 bomber can carry 2 of these, only 2. Can 2 of them actually make the penetration needed to wipe out the facilities deep underground? A lot of people think it's just too much to ask for to get 2 absolute precision strikes that would do that job. Some generals are saying it would, but it's not been tested in combat. So we don't know. But there is this other option. I find it interesting, this article here on the B-61 family of nuclear bombs. The B-6111 actually has, it's got a shroud put around it, steel, and it's got a longer front end, more mass, so that it can actually penetrate the depths without damaging the warhead and end inside of it. But it's just a brother or a sister to the B-13, which is the new bomb that was just put into service or production and back in May, fully a year ahead of schedule. Now, if you look, though, we have a few dozen of these. The B-6112, we got 400, 500. We got 50 of these tactical penetrator bunker buster bombs. 50 of them. We've got plenty of them, more than we would need in Iran. So what's cooking, guys? Again, this is the article about the B-6113 ahead of schedule. Norm Augustine now, I mentioned earlier what I did, or what I got distracted. He said schedules always slide to the right, never to the left. Schedules always slide to the right. Somehow this thing was done earlier. That schedule slid to the left. It was defiance of, Norm Augustine was known for his so-called laws of aerospace, how things operate. That was one of his calling cards, what he's known for. But he missed this one. Or maybe this one really was on schedule earlier and we just didn't want to admit it. We wanted everybody to think it was coming out a year later. I don't know. Or maybe it got a rush job on it. How do we get ahead of it by a whole year? Everything else in our country slides to the right even worse than it did in Norm Augustine's day. And then it probably don't even work for the most part. All this stuff, Boeing's airplanes falling out of the sky. Why in the world did we give Boeing the contract for the B-47 or the F-47? Excuse me, whatever it is. Why in the world, all their stuff falling out of the sky? I don't know. Trump, what were you thinking? Letting those guys have that contract. I don't know, guys. I'd be concerned with that. Their quality is in the dumpers. Anyway, so, and this article says that the White House is considering dropping nukes on Iran. So we could be in a nuke war, guys. Seriously. Taking out a nuke facility with nukes. It could happen. I'm not saying it will happen. Maybe Trump would decide, hey, I don't want to do this. Maybe I'll just back off and not attack. But all the chess pieces are in place. They're all there. He's got a lot of hawks pushing him to go to war, even though his base says no. There's a lot of people pushing for it. Now, here's one of the things I worry about. We're going to have to stand up to China. We're going to stand up to China. China's a lot bigger threat to us. Iran's not really a threat to the United States. Not really. Minor. I like that little Chihuahua dog barking at your heel. But we got a near peer adversary in China who's all in our system everywhere. They've hacked everything. They got people throughout our society. They got land next to our key military bases, and they're the #1 drone producer on Earth. So what do they got over here? I mean, they get out Mossad us. And we need missiles to protect our ships if we go to war over there. And I've been consulting AI. AI says we're going to war, whether we defend Taiwan or not, that we'll eventually be forced into a war with China. I got to do some articles on that. I did some research, and that's what the AI is claiming. It could be wrong, could be hallucinating, but, it makes some interesting points. So it's definitely something to be concerned about. I hope that's not the case. But anyway, so it's been said that we only have enough munitions now to last for a few days, maybe a week or two, depending on how they're deployed. In a massive war, a few days. We've got 10,000 vertical launcher cells on our ships. And right now we can't even fill those. We ain't got enough to fill them. And we're using them like crazy. We've been using them to play whack-a-mole with the Houthis. We've gave a lot of stuff to Ukraine. So, the best deterrent for war is peace through strength. But, now that we're using all this stuff up, China might be kind of laughing at us. Oh, you're not strong. You're just a paper tiger. Maybe that's what they're thinking. You don't have the wherewithal to take us on. That's not what you want an enemy to think. They claim it's going to take 3 to 5 years to reproduce this stuff. Now, our ships use a number of weapons, the SM-1, the SM-3, and the SM-6. The SM-3 is really something that can intercept intercontinental ballistic missiles. These are typically used on Aegis destroyers, Arleigh Burke class destroyers, and some other vehicles too. But this is your SM-1-2 missile here. And this guy, this is the cheapest one, cost $409,000 a missile. And we've been shooting down $2,000 Houthi drones with them. But it's got an operating ceiling of maybe 90,000 feet, something like that. Let me see what it says there. If I find it. Operational range. Yeah, it can shoot out 100 miles. And flight ceiling only 80,200 feet, not even that. Now, this is your SM-6. I think I just skipped one. Yeah. This is the next most powerful one. This guy costs $4.87, almost $5 million a copy. And its operational range is 130 nautical miles or 150 miles. So it gets about a half more than the other one. And its flight ceiling is 110,000 feet. It would be enough to fight against China if you had enough of them. Oh, yeah, SM-2s. We used 120 of them to fight the Houthis. We used 20 of these missiles, the SM-3, to fight, the SM-6, to fight the Houthis. The SM-6, the SM-3 is the one that's more powerful. So we've used actually 80 of these. Let me correct myself. We used 80 of these in fighting the Houthis. How many have been used to support Israel, taking out the stuff coming from Iran? I don't know. Where else have these things gone? We don't have enough of them. Oops. Let's see here. Here's the little boy. I mentioned little boy earlier. This is what Iran could have. I meant to show this earlier. It looks like I've missed something. So, little boy. It was designed at Los Alamos. Anybody ever been to Los Alamos? So this thing weighs 9,700 pounds. Yeah, she's not light. You wouldn't put this on a missile, a big aircraft or boat, ship. Maybe there's some boats that, maybe a big boat that can move fast, just take off heading toward Haifa or Tel Aviv. If this thing only had 80% enriched uranium. So it is possible that we do know that Iran actually had some uranium. It might have just been a little bit. We don't know how much, enriched to 83.7% back in 2023. Now, to give you some idea, Haifa's on the coast, Tel Aviv's on the coast, and here's that central district that in Israel. You got over 4 or 5 million Israelis that live here, Jewish Israelis, right here. Big concentration in this area. That's a very small area right here, very small. 2 or 3 nukes could wipe it out. And Israel will no longer be a nation. Israel may have 200 to 300 nukes. They still might not survive 2 or 3 deployed to them. But they got their Samson option. If they're being wiped out, their Samson options, they launch everything they got. That's a scary proposition. That article got it mixed up. Oh, yeah, here's the SM-3. This is the one that can work as an intercontinental ballistic missile. And the cost is $9 to $25 million a copy. Well, we used 20 of these against the Houthis. 20 of these. We also used a bunch of Tomahawk cruise missiles. They're all against the Houthis. Now, we didn't use any Tomahawk cruise missiles against the Iran and intercepting missiles, because the Tomahawk is targets ground targets. We did try to take out some places in the Houthi organization. Anyway, change news up a little bit just for giggles. Let's just change news up here a little bit. Trump derangement final boss. Elon Omar claims Somalia is better than America. She's a Congress critter. She's saying Somalia. And we think of Somalia as being one of the, run by warlords, and our conception of us an awful place. But she says it's better than America. Well, somebody had a comeback on that. Florida Attorney General, the Florida Attorney General said, let's deport her. Should we deport her? If you think we should deport her, put a 4 in the chat room. If you think she ought to be left alone, put a 3 in the chat room. I'm curious to see what y'all think. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to go through the chat room. Before I do that, I am going to check my PayPal. I don't know if Kim Possible's in the house or not. So we'll see how we're standing tonight. And it's been a minute. So anybody give me a donation there? Michelle Young. All righty. Michelle Young gave a $10 donation super chat through my donate button on the Green Greg's website. So sleep, Michelle. Appreciate that, Michelle. Appreciate that very much. All righty. You guys have been very helpful tonight. What can I say? So I'll go to reading the chat room here on the computer now. Desert Rose is in the house. She's such a sweetheart. She really is. I got to meet her at LeakCon. So let's go back up to the chat. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. All right. So for the coffee drinkers in the morning, we've finished the news portion. It took longer than normal because there was so much news to go through, an hour. So I really need to keep the video short or people don't want to watch it. So I'm going to try to get to some of the chat first. Greg, how about if Trump is waiting so that China and Russia intervene? I don't think China may have intervened underhandedly. I don't think they can afford to call this out in the open. We don't know what was on those planes. I don't think they're going to. I think Trump is so tied up with Ukraine and also putting troops on the Finnish border. He's really amassed troops there. I don't think he can afford to directly do anything other than maybe send a few items down there. He might send a nuke, but he's not going to commit Russian troops, I don't think, to this. And he don't want to risk getting in direct conflict with the United States, at least yet. And the same is probably true of China. So China will try to support them underhandedly in some way because China's got the most to lose. Although Russia's going to lose a market for some of their nuke reactors that we're going to build there. They're going to build some more nuke reactors. And they're also going to lose market for some other things. Although if the price of oil goes up, that would make Russia happy. So I don't know. Benji Net and Yahoo is obviously evil, says Zenjamin. Yeah, he's definitely a warmonger. So, oh. So let's see. Arnold Smith. I'm going to ask y'all for another vote here at the end. Up is down, in is out, wrong is now right. Yeah, that's a big problem these days. And the Bible prophesied that at the end days. Looks like we may be dangerously close to that. How you doing, Desert? Exactly, 100% great. Marsh rabbits. A boat at sea makes a great shelter as seawater will absorb radioactivity. Well, you might want to, the Navy, a boat in the Navy is a submarine. Hey, we got Colonel Cole in the house. Very good. Crown Prince in exile. He lives in New Jersey. Yes. So let's see. Rand nationalized the oil in 1951. Cost Brits a fortune. I bet that did. It might have been a big part of also why supposing the CIA overthrew the president. Maybe MI5, MI6 had something to do with that. So let's say, Billy Wayne, thank you for posting links for Michelle. Appreciate that. And Amanda says, way past. Well, it's no coincidence that other countries brought land around U.S. military bases. Yeah. That's scary. I mean, look what Ukraine pulled off against the Russian Air Force. Could it happen to us? Oh, yeah. What's all these darn drones we got flying over our military bases? China owns us, basically. Yeah, they just bite on everybody in the world. They're the biggest existential threat to mankind, not just the United States, not by a long shot. Imagine rolling into Iran in a EM-50 urban assault vehicle, and in the movie Stripes, the Winnebago light vehicle is actually a customized 1976 GMC motor. Oh, now you're making me think of the movie Spaceballs. They had vans, going out in space. All right. Civil defense prepping. National heat wave next week. Yeah, we just had kind of a heat wave day. It was the hottest day, I think, we've had about 3 days here where it's about right at 99. I'm going to try to survive, Zen. Let's see here. Pure Veta. Giovanna Roberto, another X-class fired twice. Oh, twice in 24 hours. That's nothing I've always suspected. If somebody's going to MP us, they might do it while we're having a major solar flare. So it will all happen under the cover of the sun. I don't know. My son did 6 years, went to Baghdad. Wow. Interesting, Desert Rose. Like I said, I thought I was going to Tehran. My son was in the second Gulf War, and he was with the Patriot missile battery. Now, the Patriot missiles you always think would be in the rear as they were defending. His unit actually went to Syria. They went all the way through Iraq. They were at the tip of the spear, right there with the special forces. They went all the way to the front line. He is one of the best units. He was really critical of the units from Germany and a lot of the other units. He said they didn't know what they were doing. Just concerned about the innocent lives. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of innocent lives lost, no doubt. Either way, from what we do, what the response could be, would it save lives in the long run? I don't know. There maybe, what did Tucker Carlson see that made him change tune? I don't know. I think I'm going to use Tucker Carlson in my thumbnail when I post it later. Yeah, the Bible prophesies Damascus would be destroyed. Midst of a pole shift. Well, the magnetic pole is moving. There is a certain channel that likes to tell us that the physical poles flip every 12,000 years. He's full of it. I can prove you a dozen different ways that ain't happened. He says it happens every 12,000 years. No, it ain't ever happened in at least last 30 million years. Syria. My great-grandfather was born in Syria. Came to Australia in 1890. Wow. I worked, one of my partners, I worked in a group that half the people in the group was Mideastern. My Q mate was Jordanian from Palestine. My boss was a Jordanian from Palestine. And we had a Syrian guy in the group too. Syrian guy had blue eyes. That's interesting. And he told some of the funniest jokes, which if I quoted his jokes, I'd be accused of racism or something. But yeah. Anyway, now the world is on a razor's edge, man. That's why I'm bringing this out here. It is on a razor's edge. The whole world. Get your heirloom seeds. That's right, Charles. Charles Stanberry. Hadn't seen you in a while. You and Nurse Prepper. Good to see you, Celia. Greg is well, thank you, Celia. That's how you look at it, right? Most Rebus, only right is everything you say will be used against you. Yeah, that's pretty much the way it is. That shouldn't be that way. We got to set up a fun. Yeah, I could use a well. I'm going to try to set up to collect rainwater, but it's kind of iffy, and you can't directly use it without filtering it. And he says French. Thank you, Jesse, for calling for the thumbs up. I don't know the story, but I got his entry papers. Oh, okay. Very good. Hey, Z, Halo. Mr. P. Ram bought 100 SS-18s from Russia in the 1970s, decommissioned Soviet area ICBMs, 5,000-mile range. Wow. Europe is in target zone then for those. But, you know, they launched a satellite. If you can launch a satellite, you can launch it. You can basically, the satellite launch is based on ICBM. Raise troops don't get set. Well, it don't really make a lot of sense to send troops in. Now, Israel might do that because there's been talk they might actually try to go into Fordo and these other facilities because they don't really have the wherewithal to take them out otherwise. But no, it's not a place you want to send troops into. Besides, we need to let the Iranian people settle things for themselves. If we get in there, we're just going to create more resentment. There is a lot of people in Iran that want to get rid of the control by the Ayatollahs. Oh, so we have no super chat. Let's see what that is. Samuel Turner, once again. Wow. Chill out tomorrow by enjoying a good lunch on me. Hey, salute. I'll do just that. But I had a place in Snowflake I'd like to go to. Wow. Thank you, Samuel. Salute. Thank you so much. Sam Turner. Wow. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, he is a chimp. Manny, you got that right. 101st Airborne says, Matt, 101, pat you on my shoulder, dear. Pick up your weapon and follow me. I am the infantry. That's some of the stuff he used to sing back in the Army. I'm so confused. Wait for Kay Harris to pop around the corner and say, April Fools. Don't be so white. Oh, Rachel, you're funny. Mr. P, Iran may look defeated, but it's wounded bear with cubs. Good point. Good point. Yeah, a lot of people have written them off, but they're still fighting. A lot of people have written them off. You know, they may have that one last ace up their sleeves. You know, you can't take things for granted. There's that old adage, and no good plan survives first contact with the enemy. And take that to heart. That means you better have some contingencies and some backups. Same as Iraq, Romania, Ukraine, all these in between. Remember the 5th of November. That's right, Desert. And, you know, if our government gets too out of control, you know, I have to remember a 5th of November. Rachel Lee, hate to go woo. Is what it is, though. Inner Earth portals. Well, I don't know how Russia and China will get involved, at least overtly. They got a lot to lose if they do. Not saying they won't. If we drop a nuke, I'll bet you're off. Who knows what's going to happen? If we drop a nuke, the world is going to be like a hornet's nest that got kicked real hard or hit with a baseball bat. Playing pinata with a baseball bat on a hornet's nest. Yow. Cute cat. Hey, I got 2 cats. My cats are Freddy Cat and Smokey, but their other handles are Rat Force 1 and Rat Force 2. Got my security camera on the sky. There you go. Mosquito in the cabin. That's one thing I don't see too much of here. In Alabama, I had a fog of mosquitoes around every time I walked out in the woods. They were awful. So that's one of my pretty face. Okay. Nostradamus predicted WW3 would start from Mideast Nation. Yeah, he had his, he called him Mavis. He said, it made it sound like Mavis is going to launch missiles or something. Strike New York. Oh, yeah. The new city. That's what some people interpret. Well, fast boat with a little boy in it would end New York City. Cheery weather. Good to see you in the house. Hey, I didn't put that. He sent me some coconut corn. I've done used it in my garden. So thank you, Chewy, for the coconut corn. Salute to you. That was a nice super chat of sorts. E4B NECP NECAT. Talking about the Doomsday plane. Oh, we got another super chat. $10 from Stephanie Cook. All right. Let us not forget Clinton's bill still in place, approving what? Medical personnel to be drafted. Oh, that's scary, folks. That's scary. Your daughters may be at risk. Who knows? Yeah, we could get a draft here. I hope we're not sending troops. If we are, we all need to jump on the train with Tucker Carlson. I'm sure a lot of you are there. I'm going to ask y'all, I want to go through the chat room. I'm going to ask for a big vote here in a minute. Civil defense prepping. So when can I max out the credit cards? Well, you know, they probably will have some way to stick it to you one way or another. I don't know. I fear for naval personnel on the USS Nimitz. Yeah, we got 3 aircraft carriers in the area. Nimitz, Ford, what's the other one? We got 3 of them out there. Yeah, we just took the biggest one, the newest one, Ford in the Mediterranean, but it's close. It can still stage stuff, especially with all these refueling tankers we get over there. We got a crazy number of refueling tankers out there. I mean, we've got a lot of serious chess pieces moved in place. Oh, epidural. Oh my gosh, Mandy. But Jason Mills saying that's something. Jason Mills, Greg. The way things are going, it looks like the elites are creating their own end times and their own antichrist. Hey, you got to wonder about these things. Got to wonder. They've been pulling some weird shenanigans. That's all I got to say. So are Israel's dome missiles running low? Yeah, they are. And see, Iran kept throwing the small stuff. I think in the previous attacks they did before this erupted, I don't think they had warheads on some of those missiles. But now they're putting serious warheads on them. And they have some that can launch 2-ton warheads. That's a lot. You know, the V2 rocket that the Germans developed in World War II had a 1-ton warhead. And it could take out a city block. 2-ton warhead is a scary warhead. Thank you, Jason, for asking for thumbs up. Arms and mining companies. That's what we should not let them buy. You know, look how China's cornered so much of our food market. Look how China has cornered worldwide markets in minerals, especially the rare earth minerals. Scary. USS Carl Vince. Thank you, John. Colonel Cole. Appreciate it, sir. John Blank. Yeah, I'm 65. I can do it every now. Hey, Drops. I hadn't seen you in a while. Well, it's 3 out of 11. Good seeing the house, Drops. For everybody, in case you don't know, Drops has a big channel over on Rumble. So I give you a plug there. First things first. What's the first thing, Patrick? Murphy. Reading some Texas. Good to see you there, Mike. MP5K Fisher. I don't know about all the U.S. draft ages, but it wasn't trained drafting. Are they going to 60-year-old men? They just go grab people off the street. They hire people to grab people, and they get a bounty. You bring in somebody to stick in the army, so run through the meat grinder, you get a bounty. Scary business over there. Very scary business. Ready for the cough 2.0. Yeah, there was talk about that. Rachel yesterday we called retired. You live in Arkansas. Okay, Josh. Yeah, you moved. That's right. I think you moved, right? We got I haven't seen her tonight, but she has been in the chat room recently. Wise Al. She's got a survival community in Arkansas. How's the tornadoes there? Drops? one good thing I'm glad I don't have to deal with the art of war. Jesuit teachings. Well, you know, Sun Tzu wrote the art of war, at least the original version. Trump did the art of the deal. So you know something about the art of the war. Typo used for canned MREs. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm bad at typing, especially when I'm on my phone. You know, my fingers are bigger than about 5 or 6 keys, so I really can't do jack diddle on there. Well, it's been a great night here. So, in terms of participation, we still got 135 in the room. We're into 180 minutes. No, we're into 80 minutes, so we're over an hour. So we need to cut this short. I want to vote, you guys. John Taylor, good to see you in the house. I want you guys to vote on something. And I think I know what you're going to vote, but I'm going to ask you to tell me. Couple of tornadoes. Yeah, Tornado Al is moving east. There's never been a tornado here. We do get some pretty good straight line winds here. With gusts up to 60, 40 miles an hour sometimes, a gust of 60. But in Alaska, when I lived at Fort Greely, there wasn't a month go by you didn't have straight line winds or at least hurricane force. So the winds up there were more severe than here. And that was unbelievable. The winds up there were incredible. It would scream. The winds would scream. Anyway, all that said. So the only burden in here in generation of Cold War weapons. Enough to discover underneath surface. Fingers are 6 inches long. Yeah, I could use some longer fingers for typing. I got these short. Some people have fingers. I got fingers, short, fat fingers. Oh, my hand's almost 10 inches. Wow. You could play football or basketball. Then don't work too good with my little short fingers. Everybody told me I should be a doctor and deliver babies. I'm like, oh no, I don't see that all the time. I said, oh, you got small hands. You should do it. No, I didn't want to do that. They just, yeah. I'd never be able to look at a woman again. Become a gynecologist. No. Lord. Devil wins, I presume, Greg. We used to play in those as a kid. Oh, hey, JoJo, good to see you. Oh, Joanne, yeah. All right, so, guys. All right, here's the vote. If you think we should go to war and drop bombs on Iran, put a 5 in the chat room. If you think not, put a 6 in the chat room. There's your vote. That's the final vote. Well, I might ask for a modification on that, depending on how y'all vote. If you think we should go to war, let me rephrase that. Put a 5 if you think we should go to war and drop bombs in Iran. 6 if not. New World says 5. Most of you are saying 6. I can bomb a basketball. I bet. Hands that large. Wow. 6.2. Matt says 5. Mania says 6. All right. Well, there's a few that support the idea. Most don't. And that's what I'm saying. Even Trump's own base doesn't support the idea of going to war. There's a few do. The Warhawks, of course, we got Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal, never seen a war they didn't like. They're always jumping for war. I think if we backed off the Iranian people take care of things themselves. I think they'll take care of their government. Give them time. Troy is kind of in between, 5.5. Yeah, well, you can write the president email him. Look up whitehouse.gov and find his email and send me an email. Tell him what you think. At this point, I think we're on the ride, guys. I think we're on the ride to war. Hey, Keith in Arizona, how you doing? I could dunk by the 10th grade, 6.2. All right. Yeah, I think we're on the ride, my friends. Like it or not. No boots on the ground. That's my real limit right there, John. No boots on the ground. If they are going to do something, they need to get in and get out. Planes, no boots on the ground. That would be a huge mistake. I'd like to see what Trump showed Tucker Carlson, to be honest. Anyway, all right, folks, we've gone long here. So I think we need to get out of here because the longer the video is, the less people watch it in the morning. People want to catch the news on their way to work while they're sipping some coffee. And when the video's an hour and a half, they go, oh, I can't do that. Although my news part's usually up front. Live sessions, there's a little bit of an issue here on YouTube. I don't know exactly when it's actually live. And so I'm on here going for a few minutes before live, and I don't even know it. Anyway. All right, Keith. When are you going to Snowflake, Keith? You might text me again. You told me and I forgot. I got so many things in juggle right now. It's been crazy. Crazy. Oh, you were going to Taylor, I believe is what you said to me earlier. Probably missed it already. Yeah, Keith don't want me to tag up. Taylor or Snowflake, one of the two. Yeah, I'd love to meet you, Keith. But anyway, hey, thank you, Super Chatters. Thank you very much. You made it a very awesome night tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you, mods, for keeping the channel clean. Kathy Humphreys, we're going to get a ride. We're going to get you mean rid of Lindsey Graham this time? I hope so. Vote that guy out. Vote out Blumenthal, too. These guys just want war. No, we don't need it. You know, I'm for defending yourself. And I think we had to have peace through strength. There's still a lot of bad characters going on. I think it's most unfortunate. Most unfortunate. But I hope we can get out of some of this stuff. Guys, pray. Pray. Monkey arms, too. 3 foot. Well, you must have been formidable in basketball. That's all I can say. Man, he's got a son to play basketball, it looks like. All right, Amanda. That's good to know. So, my friends, again, thank you, Super Chatters. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Share my videos, please. I mean, I've told you stuff on here nobody else is going to tell you. Some of the stuff I shared with you, no matter. Wow, we got another Super Chat from Drops. Homestead Fund. Thank you, sir. I definitely will use that. It does take money to set the homestead up. I got to get a fence around my garden here. My garden here will be ate up. So I'm still trying to get stuff to put a fence around it. Fortunately, the plants haven't popped up yet, but I got seed in the ground. I don't know how that's going to fare, but I do need the fence. So thank you so much, Drops. Again, thank you, Super Chatters. Thank you, mods, from my heart. I thank everybody that's watching. Please share my videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If bang the bell. I probably should check one more time, see if Kim Possible showed up. So she did. She will show up in. I don't guess we got her in the room tonight. But anyway, I thank you all so much. Really and truly. You're more family here. And we got guys, just to be careful. I wish I could bring more videos, but I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so many times. It's kicking me. Well, actually 4:45 for a 5 o'clock meeting. It's kicking me, guys. It's hard to do the videos. And I'm out watering my garden at sunset. So anyway, again, I thank you all. Appreciate all of you. And with that, I'm going to say once again, I got to find my button for ending the video. Once again, one and all, a good night, good day wherever you are. Ho, ho, ho. Green Giant Greg out.